Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Crypto market cap currently almost 450 billion. Been ping-ponging off of 400 billion and 500 billion. It's never a bad thing though. If you listen to my old analogies, anytime the top coins, especially something like Bitcoin, hovers around an area, you can envision like a pot on top of a stove, right? And it has the lid and you have some water boiling and you can see the steam, the pressure. It's constantly shaking the lid before it blows off, because the longer it stays around this price, 10,500, above 10,000, goes a little bit below, but as long as it hangs in there, what's happening is the selling pressure is dying off and the buying pressure is keeping it up, slowly creeping up the price. So the longer it stands here, the weaker the sell pressure gets. And eventually what happens, because the top cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're a honeypot for news. And there's been a lot of bad news, and I don't know why, but the world works in ebb and flows, right? If you ever notice, we get a lot of bad news and then you get a lot of good news, and you get a lot of bad news and you get a lot of good news. It's hardly ever bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news forever. Yeah, you had somebody like Bill Gates coming out, and you have the rumblings of these high profile people, and they still don't quite understand Bitcoin. He was saying some things that were wrong, and that was kind of shocking to me, to be that powerful, to have that much money and to be that into the internet, someone like Bill Gates, and to say things like Bitcoin is anonymous, when that's like the one thing one of the biggest things Bitcoin's trying to fix, is because it's so not anonymous that it's ridiculous. But anyway, so what am I doing right now? I'm not really doing much. What I do is I just kind of swing trade and hodl when I'm in the red. I don't, I'm basically out of Bitcoin when it comes to my spending Bitcoin. I'm bag holding at this point. I have a lot of bags. I could have made a lot of moves, but I didn't. I could have definitely sold a lot of the bags at the peak before this thing, but it's fine. Like, it's funny because I hire traders. There's traders that work for me that are better than traders than me. Why is that? Why are there traders that work for me that are actually better at trading than I am? It's because I don't worry about the bullshit. I focus on what I'm good at. I'm not going to try to be a trader. Not like them. Like, it's kind of like when I played poker. I had a different style. I wasn't trying to be the GTO bots. I knew that I wasn't. It wasn't how I'm built. Like, I don't know. There's something about me. I have my quirks. Like, I'm sure as a child they would have said like I had some kind of something wrong with me, right? I'm glad I didn't go to the doctor, because I don't know, like, I'm very self-aware. I guess that's my superpower. I'm very self-aware, and that leans me to go into the right direction of my strengths. And I'm a swing trader. I'm not saying that it's easy. Yeah, I'm sure I have some kind of intuition of when to trade, but it's how I've always accumulated. There's a lot of luck involved in the timing of me getting into cryptocurrency, but if you're prepared, you'll savagely take over that luck. You'll notice it's like, yeah, man, that guy got lucky, but man, he really took advantage of that luck. It's like he scraped every inch of that luck up that he could. And that's what happens when you're prepared. What else am I doing right now? Like I said, I'm just bag holding. I have a portion of a portfolio that I flip just for fun, right? Like, one of the things that a lot of people want to be millionaires, but they're not doing what they need to do day in and day out to become millionaires. They're not on the right track. They're not, you gotta ask yourself, if what I'm doing today, at the end of the day, is it going to get me closer to a millionaire, or is it going to get me one day longer of survival? Am I living to survive, or am I living to actually do what I say I'm going to do? When I have these lofty goals that I put out for myself, I make sure that what I'm doing is in alignment with what I'm saying. That's why I never felt at home with poker. I knew I was never going to become a billionaire playing poker. There's just no way. And that's why every day I knew it was a stepping stone, and it was eating me on the inside, because I realized, man, I need to get on the right track. And even with trading cryptocurrencies, I was like, man, this can make you a millionaire. You can make a lot of money. However, I'm not going to get where I need to go doing this. Maybe if I create 10, 20, 100 traders that work for me, that are all trading, right? Multiply myself by 100, then I have a chance. So I'm constantly doing, I'm not lying to myself. I'm not going to just, it's not about puffing yourself up with self-confidence, looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm great. It's not about that. It's about being true to yourself. Do you really want it? And if you do, then you have to do the steps every day that are in alignment with your goal. It's that simple. It's, it's a trust policy, basically. What am I doing right now? One of the funny things I've learned, I have weird quirks, guys. I have very weird quirks. Like, I don't mind speaking in front of a whole world. You could put me on a microphone, the whole world's listening. That's fine, right? I wouldn't lose one day of sleep over that. However, if you told me it's next Tuesday at 10 a.m., leading up to Tuesday, it's like, man, I got to get up by this time. I got to be at a place. I'm real weird that way. I can't explain it, but that's how I am. I dread the trip and having to be somewhere at a certain time. There's something about, that's why I hated school. There's something about saying you have to be here at this time. And then leading up to it, it's like, man, I got to rearrange my whole day. Yada, yada, yada. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a weird fucking person. But that also affects me with traveling. Very terrible traveling. I hate it. And I shouldn't say that. I should take that back. I should say traveling is uncomfortable, because the moment you say you don't like something, you're shutting yourself off, because you might not like it now because it's uncomfortable, but you might like it in the future. So next month, I'm actually be doing some traveling. I've been invited to do a talk, one of my first ones. I'm also going to be, going to Puerto Rico and a lot of other places, doing some traveling. When you're on the right path, when it's uncomfortable. When it's not uncomfortable, you're not on the right path. And that's the funny thing about life, because life is so balanced. You never just get it, right? As soon as you get success, you get bored and want more. That's just how life is. You have to live tomorrow. Once you achieve something, you didn't realize that it was the chase. The going after it is what you really like. That's what you're really addicted to, not just getting there. It's a very, so like, let's say you get to somewhere great, but you have to go through something uncomfortable to get there, right? You see the balance is never just great, 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 great. It's like uncomfortable, 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 great, right? And then the process starts all over again, because that's the beautiful thing about life. You can never stop becoming, you can always learn something. You can always become better in some philosophy, some way. What you want is not always going to be what you like at the same time. Right? You might want something. You might want to become a millionaire. You might want to become ripped, but then you're not going to like the process that's involved in getting those achievements. The constant workouts, the constant studying, the constant being on your A game. It's not always the funnest thing to go through. So it's always shit before it's great. It's always dark before it's light, right? And you can also say the same thing and reverse it. If it's always all great. That's one of the things when I'm looking at the market, when Bitcoin's going to 20,000, everyone's like Bitcoin 50,000, Bitcoin 100,000, Bitcoin to the moon. And I was like, that's not how the world works. That's too easy. No one put in work. None of you were putting in work. Why are you calling this? Like, you got to understand, money's not that easy to make. If everyone thinks that's going to happen, do you think that's really what's going to happen? That's not how it works. People take advantage of the mindset and chop it off at the knees, because they know the same people calling for Bitcoin 100,000, Bitcoin to the moon, are the same people who are going to be screaming and crying when the price goes down. They can control the mindset. So anytime anybody's just cheering like, oh, Tron, I always come back to Tron. I'm not saying I have anything against Tron. I haven't done enough research to even hate it. I just knew I wasn't going to want it at the beginning. Just some of these, just the hype trains. Those are ones that wreck really hard. And I'm just kind of doing my research, guys. Like, I love a platform like Ethereum, Bitcoin. I know those are obvious. But people overlook the obvious. It's kind of weird, right? Some people will, they try to get too intricate. They try to get too fancy. And it's like, man, you already won the game. You're already going to make, a lot of capital if you just chill. But a lot of people like to overtrade, and that's when, it is what it is. It's hard to get there. You always want to move around. People always feel like you have to be doing something. You have to be doing something. And that's not right. Sometimes patience and not doing anything, maybe, reverting away, working on yourself. That's the way to go. But getting into what China's talking about with Bitcoin, a lot of FUD coming out. They're actually going after their domestic traders who are on off overseas accounts. This is like the last roar from China. They're really coming in hard. You're starting to see the governments that are coming hard after it. They're going after it as hard as they can. And now you're starting to see it. Most of the world are actually wisening up and they're like, hey, man, we could probably make some money from this. China's coming out with the petro yuan that's going to, they're really trying to take the oil. They're trying to take as much power away from the US dollar as possible. They hold a lot of debt. And they want to dominate the next oil. They want to be the reserve for oil. They want to be what the U.S. is right now. So the petrodollar, U.S. dollar is on shaky slopes right now. A lot, yes, I have a lot of connections that are old school that go into that world, bring me good advice, constantly listen. Because, what affects the fiat world will affect the whole world, regardless if you're talking crypto or not. We're still attached to the fiat titty. We're still slurping on that titty. And you know what's fucked up is Bitcoin. China was like, we will close access to the financial grid if you keep using, cryptocurrency exchanges to its citizens. Talking about like, we're just going to cut you off from the financial grid. It's like, who the fuck are you? Why do you have so much damn power? Who the fuck are you trying to tell me I can't use money anymore? Like, what are you, God? It doesn't make, it's like, that's when there's a fucking problem. Like, come on, wake up. Like, who has that much power? That's why Bitcoin's never going away, because you can't say that. You're never going to be able to send your Bitcoin again. It's like, bitch, try. The technology's not out to stop it. And I don't see it coming anywhere near. And I bet the moment it does, somebody's going to create a loophole, because that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin's got the people who are the smartest and the strongest always work for the free cause. So voluntary. They work voluntarily. They want to work on Bitcoin. No one's pointing a gun at their head and saying you have to work on Bitcoin. They want to work on Bitcoin. They want to work on Ethereum. That's the difference. When you live in a communist place where they're like, you have to make this government coin, those aren't going to be the best and brightest minds. They just aren't. They're working under tyranny. It's a different mindset. So Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, in my heart of hearts, are here to stay. Bitcoin's been killed so many times, it just keeps coming back stronger and stronger and stronger. It's like you hit it and it grows another arm. You hit it and it gets bigger, and it's like, oh, now the governments have hit it so much it looks like this giant freak monster, and they're like, all right, maybe we shouldn't hit it anymore. Maybe we should try to feed it and make it like us, and we can maybe get our own Bitcoins. But I'm gonna kill it here. There's a lot. We're starting to see a lot of. Man, I had so many notes I wanted to get into, but I wasn't able to. What we're going to see from here is we're going to start to see a lot of big businesses come out. And it's kind of like, don't be deceived what's coming out. Like, I don't care. I don't trust Telegram. I don't care if they come out the ICO and say we're decentralized. Like, they're a victim of their own success to me. I'd rather go through someone who's grassroots, who I know doesn't, it's like, man, who is Telegram really tied to? Who are they really in bed with? I have no idea. I just know the big companies like Facebook eventually get taken over by governments where they can spy on the citizens and they sell data, right? I'm not playing that game. I'd rather go somewhere where I know it's grassroots, where I know the CEO, where I know I can see the code. That's where we are. Like, it's not always about who's raising $2 billion. Like, what the fuck? If I'm using Telegram, what the fuck do I care if they have raised $2 billion or not if I can use the exact same technology on another? Because that technology doesn't cost $2 billion to create. That's for marketing and whatever the fuck. Buying a yacht for all we know. You don't need that kind of money. Even Dan Larimar was laughing at the amount of money he had for EOS. He's like, dude, we have way more than enough. That's why with that $1 billion you hear, they're not saying, hey, we're going to invest and make the EOS platform better. No, they're saying, dude, we're going to give this money away to people who want to build on top of EOS because they already have enough. It doesn't cost, people don't need billions of dollars to make an app. And Dan Larimar, he's like, hey, he's truthful about it though. That's why I like him. He's like, look, I don't need this amount of money. We already have well more enough money for the EOS platform, but I'm getting mine. I created something badass and I'm getting mine. Like, cool, respect, like props. And I know that from what I don't know, I hate saying I don't know anything. I mean, that's the one thing I do know is that I don't know shit. Right? But from what my brain can assume, I can see that he's really he has a big chip on his shoulder. A lot of people talk a lot of shit on Dan L. He's had a lot of people screw him over. A lot of friends, a lot of business partners. I think this is the time where he just goes Super Saiyan. He just goes, blah! He just goes crazy. And I really believe he's going to use every penny he can to make EOS a better platform, whether it's, building the platform, which is already covered, or helping people who want to build on top of EOS. It's like, dude, we'll fund your project and then you can airdrop it to EOS people. I think that's very awesome. Yeah, I'm going to kill it here. Cheers. Peace.